The 2024 Nova Scotia election is just around the corner, and although housing is not the only thing that you should think about when you're thinking about which way to vote, it is certainly one of the hotter topics. In this video, I'm going to break down the housing platforms for the Conservatives, NDP, and Liberals so that you can make a more informed decision before you go to vote. And I'm not going to talk about my own opinion in any way, shape, or form. I'm just going to simply lay out all the points of their housing platforms, and that way you can make your own decision on what you feel is best for our province. Now, just before I get into it, if you're new here, my name is Andrew Stephens. I've been a realtor in Halifax for 10 years. And if you want to be educated on the Halifax real estate market, then hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And if you're thinking about making a move in the HRM and you want to get in touch with me, you can do so anytime through the Calendly link below in my description. Now, just before I get into the platforms, I think it's important to understand where we are at in terms of the overall housing crisis in our province. So in the 5-year housing plans that was released by the Conservatives back in the fall of 2023, it talked about a deficit, a housing shortage of approximately 27,000 units, and this was expected to grow to 71,000 units by 2027. So in short, we have a huge supply problem. We have a lot of demand compared to the supply that we currently have on both the rental side of things and the resale side of the housing market. A recent study by the Fraser Institute showed that we're adding 8 people to the province every year for every 1 unit of housing being built. This was the second widest ratio, only behind New Brunswick, which was 11-1. Now, this might be a little bit better in 2024 as our housing starts have increased a lot this year. In terms of the rental side of housing, we have a very low vacancy rate, and the units that are available to rent are far from affordable to the masses, including all the new construction rentals that are going up right now. And as the rental prices and the housing prices have skyrocketed over the last 5 years, we've seen a huge uptick in the homeless population across the HRM and across the province as many new tent encampments and tents are popping up all over the city. So in short, we have a huge supply problem, not just a supply problem, but an affordable supply problem. And we really need more housing and we need it fast. But the question is, how do the different parties plan to attack the housing crisis? So let's dive right into it, and let's start off with the Conservatives as they are currently in power. And just as a side note, I'm going to kind of burn through these with graphics on the screen so it'll be easy to follow, but I'm also going to drop links in the description below that'll bring you to the different housing platforms so you can explore them in more detail if you wish to do so. Starting off with the rent cap, the Conservatives have extended it again from December 2025 to December 2027, and this was already increased at the start of 2024 from 2% to 5%. However, Tim Houston has said several times that they don't feel rent control is a long-term solution, but that being said, since they've been in power, they've extended it multiple times already. Next up, public housing. They recently announced plans to build 222 new public housing units. This was the first public housing announcement in 30 years. They've also recently opened a tiny home community in Lower Sackville for the first of its kind in our province. Back in the fall of 2023, they released the province's first 5-year housing plan, which they say will help to build just over 41,000 housing units in 5 years. They've also tackled student housing by building 2 new community college residences, and there's 5 more underway, so these would be for the NSCC schools. They've made major changes to the zoning and permitting process, which will speed up permits and development. They've also looked at density, and they've incentivized backyard and secondary suites with financial assistance programs and, of course, easier approvals. They've made significant changes to the down payment assistance program to help more Nova Scotians qualify for mortgages by providing a loan of up to 5% of the purchase price, and they've also recently announced a 2% down payment program through the credit union for first-time home buyers as well. They grew affordable housing, creating conditions to support over 17,000 more affordable units. And they plan to make vacant land parcels available to communities for $1 on the condition that they be developed into more affordable housing options. They've also purchased modular transition housing for healthcare workers and converted the Wheelhouse Motel in Lunenburg into new housing for healthcare workers. Moving on to the NDP, let's start off again with the rent cap. Their position is they're going to cut the rent cap in half from 5% currently to 2.5%. Moving on to fixed-term leases, their plan is to close the loophole of fixed-term leases, which they say allows landlords to exploit Nova Scotians in a tight residential market with double-digit rent increases. They're going to provide $900 housing rebate for renters and homeowners by bringing in a new rent and mortgage tax rebate for low and middle income households. This will be for anybody who is under $70,000 a year, so it will benefit approximately half of all Nova Scotian households. A big part of their plan is to protect renters from unfair evictions and rent-evictions. They're going to reverse the Conservatives' recent loosening of the eviction rules and the rent-eviction rules, and they'll create a new tenancy enforcement unit. They plan to create a path to home ownership through a rent-to-own starter home program. That combines more home construction with lower upfront costs for first-time homebuyers. They're going to work with growing factory-built home construction to deliver high-quality, energy-efficient, affordable homes to first-time homebuyers with a household income of less than $100,000 per year. They're going to build more non-market and co-op homes, and the NDP says they're ready to tackle the housing shortage, and they have an ambitious initial goal of 30,000 new affordable rental homes. They'll do it by leveraging federal funding. They'll do it by working with the municipalities, and they're going to levy a tax on vacant lots, and that way developers won't want to delay builds as much. And they also talk a lot about cutting red tape and encouraging more development across the housing market. Moving on to the Liberals, they recently released their own housing plan called A Roof Over Your Head. So first up, they plan to build more homes. They plan to build 80,000 new homes by 2032. So this would be aiming at a rate of 11,000 new homes per year, which is enough to accommodate Nova Scotia's growth. They're going to establish increased minimum density standards across the province, and they're going to ensure there's appropriate zoning to encourage density near universities so students have a place to live as well. They're going to rethink municipal zoning standards. They're planning to incentivize more housing starts and overall just reduce the red tape, similar to what the NDP party was talking about. They're looking to spur housing innovation by incentivizing new ways to build, such as tilt-up, modular, or factory-built homes. They say they're going to fix the broken property tax system. They're going to completely review the current property tax system and the issues that are involved. They're going to build a lot more nonprofit housing. Currently, they're working with 110 organizations to help double the stock by 2032. The Liberals also plan to eliminate the tent crisis. This will be addressed immediately by procuring 500 mini homes by tendering them to locals to make it more affordable compared to bringing them in from out of province, and they have aligned a $10 million budget to do so. They also plan to build and support more co-op housing. They're going to bring 2,000 new co-op housing units to the market by 2032. Now, just like the other two parties, they have a stance on rent control as well, which is no surprise. They plan to implement a fairer system where the cap is based on inflation, market conditions, and vacancy rates on a regional basis in the province. They also plan to establish a provincial rent bank. Everyone experiences emergencies, and that shouldn't cause you to worry about losing your home. The Nova Scotia Liberal government will establish a rent bank, a low-cost, high-value program that can provide quick turnaround, zero-interest loans to renters that find themselves stuck. They also plan, like the NDP, to close fixed-term lease loopholes. This will end fixed-term lease abuse by ensuring that landlords cannot offer tenants fixed-term leases longer than 1 year, and extensions beyond the fixed term would automatically transition the lease to a month-to-month scenario. They're going to reverse the harsh cuts to the rental supplement program. This supplement program supports low-income Nova Scotians who pay more than 40% of their income on rent. They're planning to reverse this back to 30% of their income. They're also planning to implement an enforcement unit. This is going to establish a residential tenancies enforcement unit to deal with especially egregious and time-sensitive disputes, and this was also suggested to the Conservative government as well. They're going to increase trades opportunities for women to get housing built. As of 2022, less than 9% of trades apprentices in Nova Scotia were women. We're never going to overcome our province's labor shortage and get more housing built if we're only training half of the available workforce. The Liberal government will invest $10 million to increase training for women at NSCC and trades directly related to housing. They're also looking ahead and they're coming up with comprehensive strategies. One is going to be for seniors in terms of a senior housing strategy. Another one is going to be for a student housing strategy. And they're also looking to provide more support for women fleeing domestic violence. And they're going to work with different organizations in the nonprofit sector to do so. So there you have it. There's your 3 major platforms for the 2024 Nova Scotia election that's coming up next week. And like I said, obviously housing is only one part of it, but it is a pretty hot topic right now amidst the Nova Scotia housing crisis. Now, I'm going to leave my opinion completely out of this one. It is not about what my opinion is. This is just about creating awareness and giving you the information you need to make a sound decision from the housing side of things. But I'm curious to know in the comments below, what platform do you think is the best? What do you think is the best move right now in terms of the housing side of things for Nova Scotia, not necessarily just the way you're going to vote as a whole. And if you get any value out of this video, all I ask is that you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future content, and that'll help push this out to more people like you who may be interested in seeing videos about the Nova Scotia real estate market. And until next time, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Make sure you go out and vote. Your voice matters. Make sure you do it on November 26th. Thank you for watching and have a great day.